Hello, eighth graders and seventh grade honor students. All right, so today we are going to learn about savings and investments. All right, basically we're doing simple and compound interest. All right, so let's talk about this really quickly before we start. You will need your formula chart, okay? Because we have on here, you have under additional, under additional information at the bottom is the formula for simple interest and compound interest, and you need your calculator right here. Sorry. All right, so let's get started. All right, so let's talk about simple interest first. All right, so simple interest is it's either the amount of money a lender charges a borrower for a loan. Okay, so it's an amount of money they charge you for borrowing. So you go to the bank and you say, hey, I need to borrow $100. And they say, okay, we're going to charge you 10% interest. The amount of money they're charging you to borrow $100 is 10% of 100, which is $10. So they're charging you $10. That's simple interest. That's how much they make off of it. Okay, that's simple interest. That's just how much they are making after they let you borrow money. Okay, it's also called the amount of money paid as a return on their investment. So as a return on their investment, they're investing in you. They're giving you $100. Their return, how much they profit, how much they make, is the 10%, the $10. Okay, so I'm just picking easy numbers right now. All right, so that's just simple interest. Okay, now compound interest is going to be interest that is calculated on both the principal, and when they talk about principal, we're not talking about Mr. Johnson. We are speaking about the principal is how much you went to ask to borrow, the $100. That's the principal. That's how much you needed to borrow, okay? So this is going to be interest that is calculated on both the principal, which is the simple interest. It's going to be the simple interest, how much they make, and any accrued interest added to the sum, okay? So basically, it is how much, it would be $110. So if you went to the bank and you said, hey, I need to borrow $100, and they said, that's fine, we're going to charge you 10% interest, the $110 is going to be the compound interest, okay? Or it's also known as, interest on interest. It's been called that too, all right? So let's get busy. Make sure you have your calculator and your formula chart. I'll write the formulas up here, okay? All right. All right, guys, so before we get started, I need you guys to mark out the compound interest formula. That is completely wrong. If you use that formula, you're not going to get any right answers. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Okay, so the simple interest formula is correct. Interest equals P times rate, principal times rate times time. So the P stands for the principal. That's the amount you're borrowing. The rate is your percentage, but we're going to put it in a decimal. You can't multiply money and time times a percentage. We got to change your percent, how much they're charging you, to a decimal. And then T is time in years. All right, now, the compound interest formula does not work, okay? So this is the one I found that's the easiest, and there's several out there, and I'm telling you guys it's the easiest one. So mark out compound interest, and underneath it, you need to make sure you're doing this. If you don't do this, this is on you. Do not come to me and say next week when you're doing a test, don't come to me and say, wait, what was that? It's on you. You do it right now or you get them wrong, okay? And I guess we'll find out who watches my lessons by who does this, because you'll get them wrong if you don't have this formula. All right, and if you want to write this at the bottom, that's fine. Now, you can't use this on your STAR test, but it'll help you in here. All right, so A equals P, principal, open parentheses, the number 1, plus R divided by N, close parentheses, N times T. Okay, so what this means is the principal, open parentheses, 1 plus the rate in a decimal, divided by N. N is the number of times it's compounded, the interest. Sometimes it's compounded annually. Sometimes it's compounded quarterly, okay? Sometimes it's by, so that would be 2, all right? And then close parentheses, and then it's going to be N, the number of times it's compounded, annually, or the number of times it's compounded, times the time. Okay? All right, so we've got some examples coming up, but I want to make sure that y'all have got the correct formula. Do some of these examples. We're going to start with number 1. We're going to calculate the simple interest earned, and then we're going to round to the nearest cent if necessary. Okay, so it would be the nearest hundred, sorry. All right, so, but the nearest penny, because we're talking about money. All right, so we're going to use interest equals principal times rate times time. All right, so our principal right here, it says number 1, $2,380 is deposited into an account that earns 3 1/4% simple interest for 4 years. All right, so number 1. So our principal, how much we have, what we're starting with, the balance, is, make sure you have a calculator, $2,380. We're going to multiply that by the interest, the rate. Now look, guys, the rate on this one is 3 1/4. We know that equals 3.25 as a decimal, but we got to take that decimal and that percentage, it could also be 3.25%, and we need to make it into a decimal by moving the decimal 2 places to the left. So this one would be 0.325. That's what number we're going to put into the calculator, okay? Times 0.325, and then we're multiplying it by the number, the time, which is in years. It's 4 times 4, and we get $3,000 and $3,094, right? Well, I should have had cents. Oh, hold on. I did that wrong. Sorry, hold on. I typed in my calculator wrong. 2,300 times 0.0325 times 4. And you get $309.40. 309.40. Right, that's what I got. Actually, well, yeah, I got 309.4. Okay. All right, next up is number 2. $7,200 is deposited into an account that earns 4.5% simple interest for 8 years. All right, so again, we have a percentage, which is 4.5. 4.5. We've got to turn that into a decimal by moving it 2 places to the left. So 0.045 is going to be what we're putting in. All right, so you ready? So we have our principal for P is 7,200. We're multiplying it by 0.045, and then we're multiplying it by time, which is 4 years, which is $1,296. All right, so next up is the compound interest, which is going to be this one down here. All right, so make sure that you have written it on your formula chart. Realize I did that last one wrong. It was 8 years, and I did 4 years. So I'm going to redo it before y'all start turning around pointing at me. So 7,200 times 0.045 times 8 years, and that is $2,592. Okay, so we fixed it. All right. All right, guys. So now we're back. I'm going to leave this bottom part so we can I can write in what we're plugging in where. All right, so it wants us to calculate the compound interest earned and wants us to round to the nearest cent if necessary. So number 3 says $2,380 is deposited into an account that earns 3.14% compound interest compounded quarterly. We know quarter is 4, and then for 4 years. Okay, so it's compounded each quarter. So every 3 months, 4 times a year. Okay. And we want to figure out what is the compound interest. All right, so we're solving for A, okay? The amount, the principal, the P, is $2,380. And number 1 plus the rate says 3 1/4, which we did this while ago. It's 3.25%, but we got to make it into a decimal. Okay, so then that's going to be 0.0325. over n, which is the number of times it's compounded. It's compounded quarterly. We know that's 4. So we're going to divide it by 4, close parentheses, and then it's raised to the nth power times t. So it's compounded, the number of times it's compounded is quarterly times the time, which is 4 years. It says 4 years. Okay, so we're going to plug this into our calculator exactly like we have it. All right, now, and actually I put another set of parentheses right here. So you make sure, you know, because of PEMDAS. All right, so we're going to write in, we're going to type in 23, let me clear my code, 2380. Okay, I'm going to do a parentheses, open parentheses. The number 1, the plus sign. Then another open parentheses, and I'm going to put 0.0325. I'm going to divide it by 4, and I'm going to close that parentheses. Then I'm going to put another close parentheses, and then I'm going to hit the button under clear to raise it, and I'm going to put 4 times 4 because it's compounded quarterly for 4 years. And I'm going to click enter, and I get 2,000. This is not the answer, though, because they want to know. But I get $2,708 and 988,197. Whatever. I'm going to subtract that from my principal, 2,380. Okay, so I'm just going to take that answer minus 2,380, and I get $328 and 99 cents. So I got 90. It really got 328.9881. That bounces that up to a 9. So this is the answer. Okay, so we got one more example. I know it's a lot. I know. But if you have this down, you're good. Okay, one more example. All right. Right now, we're going to do the same thing, like kind of what we did. Number 4, $7,200 is deposited into an account that earns 4.5% compound interest compounded monthly. So that's going to be compounded 12 times for 8 years. Okay, 12 times for 8 years. All right, so writing out your formula is going to be the hardest part. I really suggest that you have scratch paper when you're doing the compound interest so that you can make sure that everything is plugged in correctly. Okay, $7,200, open parentheses, the number 1 plus the rate, which says 4.5% interest, but I'm going to bring my decimal over 2 places, and it's going to make it 0.045, excuse me. Okay, so right here, I'm going to do it like I type in the calculator, another parentheses, and it's going to be 0.045 over the rate, or the n, the number of times it's compounded. It's compounded 12 times, y'all. Close parentheses, and then it's n times t. It's compounded 12 times for 8 years. Times 8, okay? Now, this is exactly how I'm going to type it into my calculator, all right? All right, so now let's do it again. 7,200. Open parentheses, the number 1 plus another open parentheses, 0.045 divided by 12, close parentheses, the raising it to under the button clear, raise it to 12 times 8, and I get $10,313. 0.2551, and I'm going to subtract. That's how much you would get in 8 years. This would be sitting in your bank account if you're investing this. If you're putting this in a bank account, a savings account, this is how much you're going to have at the end of 8 years. $10,313, whatever, okay? But let's see how much interest did you earn, though. If you're compounding it every month, and then, so basically when you're compounding every month, you take that interest that you make that 1 month, and then that's your balance. and then you take the next month and that's your balance. So you're going to be making more money when you're doing like that. But I've never found a bank that will do that, but we'll see. All right, so we're going to subtract this minus 7,200. Okay, so in 8 years, you're going to have earned $3,113, 0.25509 to the nearest cent. It's going to be, you're going to have about $3,113.03. Okay. So the hardest part today is going to be getting used to this formula. So make sure that you have that written down, guys. If you have questions, let me know.